It was a very quiet morning when we approached the dock, the morning of August 4, 2004. I could see many of the tour buses lined up in neat formation, waiting for hundreds of cruise passengers to disembark and take us to explore the places around this port. This is the Port of Gdynia in the Central European country of Poland.
We are now leaving Gdynia, the city that belongs to the Tri-City area. I will tell you more about it in a second. But
Most of us have never been here before, and so we were all enthused for the visit. Soon, the tour buses left the dock, one by one.
So if you look around yourselves, all those buildings, these on the left side and those also on the right side, those square plain buildings, not so attractive maybe I would say. This is something typical, the cityscape, characteristic for the 60s and for the 70s.
As we departed from the Port of Gdynia, the view wasn't very interesting.
You wouldn't find too many monuments here in this city. This is a typical industrial maritime city with one of the greatest, one of the biggest ports, harbors in this part of the Baltic coast.
But a little farther away, changes were noticeable in building architectures and designs.
The city, the outskirts, are still developing. New houses are being built, constructed, and everything is changing very rapidly in Poland.
It was also a bit of a drive for a view of the countryside along the way. In about an hour and a half, we would be at the Malbork Castle, our first destination, and one of the medieval fortresses in Europe.
We are supposed to be there at 11:30. The local guide will be waiting for us there, and we will have a guide tour.
This day's itinerary included a tour of the castle, followed by lunch, and 20 minutes of free time at Malbork before heading to the city of Gdansk.
What I suggest is that we make our stay, the free time in Malbork, as short as possible in order to get more time in Gdansk.
Although we have encountered some very rough roads along the way, we also learned about the cityscapes and medieval architectures before crossing the bridge over the most important Vistula River in Poland.
And goes, stretches throughout the whole country and has its head in the Baltic Sea.
And as we got closer to the Malbork Castle, our tour guide collected extra money from some of us who wanted to have the rights to take photographs inside the castle.
So if you want one, prepare $5 or €4.
Malbork Castle is located near the Poland's Tri-City areas of Gdansk, Sopot, and Gdynia.
We have arrived in a very good time. I mean, we have still plenty of time because according to the schedule, we are supposed
With
to
a closer view of the castle within our sight, we heard more instructions from the guide to remind us of our itinerary and schedules.
Which is 11:15. We can start our sightseeing, and then we have lunch at 12:40.
A few special advice on souvenirs, and hoping that all goes well.
What I would recommend is to concentrate on the souvenirs that are connected to the castle, to Malbork, maybe some books with the pictures.
We arrived early for our scheduled tour. From the outside, the red brick castle already looked amazing. This was our first stop, and after the long drive sitting on the bus, everyone wanted to get out fast for a quick break. Shortly afterwards, we met our castle guide, and we were all ready to be bombarded with the historical background of Malbork Castle.
My name is Mariusz Kamiński. I'm going to guide you through the castle. I would like to welcome you at the Malbork Castle Museum, and first maybe a few words about the builders and original owners of the castle. The castle was constructed by the Order of Teutonic Knights. That order was established in the late 12th century in the Holy Land, and there they fought with Muslim Turks.
I likely won't remember much of it at the end of the day, but we were glad to learn about the building structures, architectures, and the makeup of the bridge and gate protecting the entrance to the castle.
Characteristic feature is the fact that it is almost completely built of brick. We are standing on wooden roofed bridge. This bridge is a 20th century reconstruction. The entrance to the middle castle was protected by a system of 5 mighty gates. They are made of oak and strengthened with iron. In its,
At the courtyard, we gathered around.
living quarters of the Grand
It had started to be a bit crowded.
was the second person. The whole western wing of the middle castle was adapted to the needs of the Grand Master and his court.
Others were becoming impatient while we waited for another group to come out from seeing the stove that heats up sections of the castle.
No, because there is another group there. We must wait a little till the other guide They heated only the most important interiors in the castle. The rooms of lesser importance, they were equipped with ordinary fireplaces. As you can see, it consists of 2 chambers. In the lower chamber, wood was burned to create the heat. Then the heat was accumulated in the upper chamber, which was filled.
There were areas that we were not allowed to see, unfortunately.
We cannot enter there because of some conservation works. Now we will be slowly leaving the...
Next stop was the Palace of Grand Masters, with its nicely decorated and painted ceilings.
Here, the walls are decorated with the motif of a curtain, while the vaultings with the motif of leaves.
Then we walk into a hall with high ceilings and impressive walls.
From that family.
Minders stood by to make sure we didn't misbehave. A little entertainment broke the monotony as we moved on and continued our walking tour. In this room, the center columns supporting the arched ceilings blended with the door frames architectures. Outside, in the inner yard, the statues got plenty of attention from the crowd, while others posed for pictures with them.
Important grandmasters in the history of the order. So on the left you can see Hermann von Salza, who sent first Teutonic Knights to Prussia. The second is Siegfried von Feuchtwangen. He moved the capital of the Teutonic Order from Venice to Malbork in 1309. The third one is Winrich von Kniprode, one of the longest ruling grandmasters. During his reign, the Teutonic state was most powerful. And the one on the right, it was Albrecht von Hohenzollern.
Also sitting in the yard was a water well, as pointed out by the guide.
And at the top of the water well, you can see such a metal sculpture. Of a pelican which is feeding his offspring with his own body and blood. It is a religious symbol, the symbol of Christ's self-sacrifice.
Next stop is the prison cell, where I tried to imagine what it would have been like in there once upon a time.
Well, this prison cell is quite a luxurious one. It is dry, there is even one window here. That's why only the most valuable prisoners were kept here. Those were various noblemen who were captured at battlefields. They were kept here for ransom. The Teutonic Knights expected some money from their families, which was a common practice in Middle Ages.
Music continued as we moved on to the next section of the castle. There were more religious symbols and images on the walls. And on the floor were covered up penetration holes for what looked like heating ventilations. At the end of the castle tour, lunch came next at the nearby restaurant just outside the castle. It wasn't the best lunch I had, but we all got the taste of it. Entertainment was conducted by the three talented musicians from the Dance and Music Academy. None of us had the appetite for souvenir shopping afterwards. We were more eager to head for our next destination, about an hour away to the city of Gdansk.
We have arrived to the city during the busiest time, when the traffic is reaching its peak and it's very jammed everywhere. So
As we neared the city of Gdansk, we got caught in a bit of traffic, and the guide took her time to give us more instructions to get us through this part of town.
We'll go this way. We'll start by the Golden Gate. So if you look at the map, you can find the Golden Gate. It's number 1.
And then, as we gathered off the bus, she pointed a few landmarks, including the Golden Gate, one of the most notable tourist attractions and forms part of the old city fortifications.
Wipe off everything. We will go just straight on, and I will show you the place where the meeting is afterwards, okay? This very nice building over there with the tower and the clock. This is the main town hall, and this is also one of the most characteristic buildings in the city, in the old town.
The town's highlights were its nice architectures and buildings. We stood along the crowded and busy street. The main town of Gdansk was where everything seemed to be happening. At Gdansk main thoroughfare is the Renaissance-style Neptune statue and fountain. It was erected in 1633 to symbolize Gdansk's bond with the sea. This fountain is one of the city's most loved symbols and a popular meeting place.
Here we are talking about another building material, which is a brick, a very popular building material in this area from the 14th until the 18th century.
We walked through the old town and visited the Holy Mary Church. It is one of the largest European brick Gothic buildings and was severely damaged during the Second World War.
You can even look at the color of the bricks, the lighter and the darker ones. These are the new ones that were put after the war.
It has now been fully restored and redecorated with interior artworks that survived after they had been evacuated for safekeeping to the villages surrounding the city during the war.
So the main altar
inside the church, there was a sign that says no picture taking allowed, but it was generally ignored.
The founding of the Holy Mary dates back to the early 16th century, 1516 exactly, and it was
this day, this church had more visitors than local worshippers walking in and out. After the church visit, it was time to see some amber jewelries for those who were interested. They were very pricey. Our guide demonstrated how to tell if the ambers were fake or genuine.
And so, I have 3 bracelets here. Only one is original. So you can take a guess which one is original and it's true amber. We will throw them into the water, and the ones that go
It is authentic if it floats in seawater or 20% salted water.
Throwing them in. It was fake, right? The yellow one. So this one looking very modest. It was the real one. So
And this knowledge was the only thing I could bring back home and cost me nothing. And then, we were finally given 1 hour free time for shopping. Outside the jewelry and souvenir stores, the crowd seemed to have gotten bigger. All kinds of money-making businesses were in the area, but mostly we were just looking around, taking pictures, enjoying the sceneries, or taking advantage of the free little entertainment along the city streets while we waited for the rest of the group. Soon, the day's tour ended, but there was more to see along the way, views to enjoy, and some more last-minute information about the buildings around us as we cruised along the streets of Gdansk and headed back to the Port of Gdynia.
The Arctic city. I hope you will enjoy the memory. I hope you have plenty of photos and pictures. And I hope you really enjoyed yourselves today, that you liked the castle and the Tri-City area and the old town in Gdansk. And as we are nearly here, enjoy the rest of your cruise.